Okay, so let's dive into this whole world of GLP-1 drugs and the stock market.
Sounds good to me.
It looks like you're interested in maybe investing in this hot new class of weight loss drugs.
Yeah, it's definitely a hot topic right now.
And we've got excerpts from this Motley Fool article called "This Could Be the Best GLP-1 Stock to Buy in 2025" to unpack.
Yeah.
They're making a case for Amgen.
Interesting.
So we're going to see if their argument holds water.
Always good to have a healthy dose of skepticism when it comes to market predictions.
Right.
Especially in a field as hot as this one.
Yeah. Everyone's jumping on the GLP-1 train right now.
For sure.
Speaking of which, the article kicks off by highlighting the incredible projected growth of this market.
Okay.
We're talking a potential $200 billion
That's well.
by 2031.
That's a big number.
Yeah,
That kind of growth makes sense, though, given the incredible weight loss results people are seeing.
absolutely.
Some are shedding over 20% of their body weight.
Yeah,
That's not just hype. That's a serious medical breakthrough.
exactly. And that brings us to the current market leader, Eli Lilly, with their drugs, Mounjaro and Ozempic.
Yeah, household names for sure.
But their stock price is sky high right now.
Ah, so the classic dilemma
Right.
is the current success already baked into the price?
Right?
Or is there still room for growth?
Yeah.
A price-to-earnings ratio of 75 times their trailing earnings definitely raises an eyebrow.
Exactly. And that's why this Motley Fool article is suggesting you might want to look at Amgen instead.
Interesting. What's their angle on Amgen? Are they just trying to be contrarian?
Well, Amgen has this GLP-1 drug in trials called MariTide.
Oh.
It's showing a lot of promise, and get this, it only needs to be taken once a month.
Now that's a potential game changer.
Right.
Compared to the weekly injections required for other GLP-1 drugs.
Oh, yeah.
That kind of convenience could be huge.
Huge.
Both for patients and in terms of market appeal.
Imagine the compliance you'd get if people only had to think about their medication once a month. And in a phase 2 trial, MariTide helped people lose up to 20% of their body weight after just 1 year.
While some analysts were hoping for 25%, a 20% reduction is still significant.
Right.
And the study indicated the weight loss could continue past that 1-year mark.
That's a really important point. It reminds us we need to think long-term with these drugs.
Absolutely.
It's not just about a quick fix.
No, it's about lasting change.
So how does this all translate to Amgen stock? Is it priced for this kind of potential success?
Right. Good question.
Well, that's where the Motley Fool thinks things get interesting. They're arguing that even with this potential, Amgen stock is actually undervalued right now.
Really?
Yeah, it's trading at 41 times its trailing earnings and only 15 times its expected future earnings.
Okay, that's significantly lower than Eli Lilly?
Yeah.
Is that typical for the healthcare sector as a whole?
Not even close. The article mentions that the average for healthcare stocks is around 18 times future earnings. So Amgen seems like a bargain compared to his peers.
Since the market isn't fully pricing in MariTide's potential yet. That makes sense given it's still in trials. But for someone looking for a potential opportunity, that could be very tempting.
Right, and it's not just about Mara. Amgen already has a diverse portfolio of successful drugs on the market.
Okay.
Which is a good sign.
That diversification is important.
Yeah.
It gives them a stable foundation to build on.
For sure.
And reduces the risk associated with betting on a single drug's success.
Absolutely. They generated $10.4 billion in free cash flow last year.
Wow.
Enough to cover dividends and reinvest in the business.
That's a good position to be in. It suggests they have the resources to support MariTide's development and bring it to market effectively.
And to pay those nice dividends, too.
There you go.
But here's something that stood out to me in the article.
Okay.
When MariTide's trial results came in slightly below some analysts' expectations, Amgen's stock dipped.
Oh, interesting.
What do you make of that?
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
It suggests that the market has incredibly high expectations for these GLP-1 drugs.
Yeah.
Even a minor deviation from those expectations can spook investors.
Which means this market is probably pretty volatile.
Probably.
And it highlights how risky investing in pharmaceuticals can be.
It's a good reminder that we need to be cautious and do our due diligence. There are a lot of factors at play here, not just the science.
Okay, so we've established that the GLP-1 market is booming and that Amgen with MariTide might be a contender.
Right.
But before we go full on Wall Street, let's zoom out a bit. It's not just about the money. What about the broader social and cultural impact of these drugs?
That's a great point. This isn't just about stock prices.
Right.
It's about how these drugs are changing how we view obesity healthcare and even body image.
Exactly. These drugs are incredibly effective.
Yes, they are.
But they're also raising a lot of complex questions about access affordability and the long-term health consequences.
We need to consider who will benefit from these treatments and who might be left behind. And what about the potential for unintended consequences?
Right, like are we medicalizing a condition that for some might be manageable through lifestyle changes?
That's a big question.
Are we creating a culture where thinness is the only acceptable body type?
These are all important questions to ponder, and they're questions that investors should be thinking about too, because these societal debates can directly impact a company's success.
Absolutely. Investment decisions shouldn't be made in a vacuum. Understanding the social and cultural landscape is crucial. So we've got this incredible scientific advancement that's leading to potentially life-changing treatments for obesity.
It is exciting.
But it's also opening up a Pandora's box of ethical and societal dilemmas.
It's a fascinating and complex landscape, and it's evolving rapidly.
It is.
What we think we know today might be completely different tomorrow.
Exactly. That's what makes this such an exciting area to follow.
Yeah.
Both from a scientific and an investment perspective.
For sure.
There's so much potential, but also so much uncertainty.
That's true.
It's a real-life thriller unfolding before our eyes.
Well said. It's a reminder that the best investors aren't just number crunchers. They're also keen observers of human behavior, social trends, and the implications of scientific progress.
Okay, so let's put those bigger picture questions aside for a moment and get back to the nitty-gritty.
Sounds good.
We've got Amgen with its potentially undervalued stock and its promising GLP-1 drug MariTide.
Right.
But are they a buy, a hold, or a sell?
To answer that, we need to dive deeper into their financials and see if their current valuation truly reflects their future prospects, what's driving their revenue and earnings.
Let's find out. We know they're trading at a lower multiple than Eli Lilly and even the average healthcare stock.
Right.
But we need to see what's fueling their growth.
Right, because it's not just about MariTide, even though it's the shiny new toy.
Yeah.
Amgen has a diverse portfolio of products, and some of those are already experiencing significant growth.
Exactly. And that diversification is key.
It is.
Because it reduces their dependence on any single product, even if MariTide faces setbacks.
Right.
They've got other revenue streams to fall back on.
Makes sense. So let's look at their recent performance. Did the Motley Fool article mention any specific numbers that caught your eye?
Yes, they highlighted that Amgen generated $10.4 billion in free cash flow last year.
Okay.
Which is a very healthy number.
And that gives them a lot of flexibility.
It does.
They can use that cash for dividends, buy back stock, invest in research and development.
Yeah.
Or even acquire other companies. It's like having a big pile of cash in the bank.
It definitely gives them options, and they're clearly committed to rewarding shareholders.
Okay.
They paid out $4.8 billion in dividends last year.
That's a solid dividend yield
Sure.
and suggests they're confident in their ability to generate consistent cash flow.
And beyond the current products and dividends, they've got a robust pipeline of new drugs in development beyond just MariTide,
Okay.
which is a good sign for their long-term growth.
It indicates that they're not resting on their laurels, but actively seeking to expand their market share and develop new revenue streams.
Right, and that's key for any company, especially in a fast-paced world like pharmaceutical.
Absolutely. Innovation is the lifeblood of this industry. If you can't keep up with the science and bring new treatments to market, you're doomed to fall behind.
So it sounds like Amgen is striking a pretty good balance between generating steady income from its existing products and investing in future growth.
That's a winning formula in any industry, but especially in pharmaceuticals, where research and development are so crucial.
And that's what makes them a compelling prospect for investors who want to capitalize on the booming GLP-1 market
Yeah.
without taking on excessive risks.
Right.
But we need to remember they're not the only players in town.
Okay, so let's talk competition.
Mm-hmm.
We've touched on Eli Lilly, but who else is Amgen up against in the GLP-1 market?
The GLP-1 space is getting crowded.
It is. It's a hot area.
Several major pharmaceutical companies are vying for market share, and they're not messing around.
All right, this isn't a two-horse race.
Yeah.
We need to understand Amgen's position within this competitive landscape.
Mm-hmm.
What are their strengths and weaknesses compared to the other big players?
Well, one of their strengths is their experience and track record. They've been in the pharmaceutical industry for decades, and they've proven they can bring successful drugs to market.
That's valuable.
Yeah.
They've got the infrastructure, the expertise, and the connections to navigate this complex world.
Exactly. And they have a strong sales and marketing force to promote their products to healthcare providers.
That's crucial.
Oh, yeah.
Because even the best drug won't sell itself. You've got to get it in front of the right doctors and prescribers.
But Amgen does face challenges. One of the biggest is their late entry into the GLP-1 market.
Okay.
Eli Lilly and others are already established with products generating significant revenue.
That's a tough hurdle to overcome.
It is.
It takes time to build market share, especially when you're going up against companies with deep pockets and aggressive marketing strategies.
So they're going to need to be strategic and innovative to stand out.
For sure.
One way they're doing that is by focusing on differentiation.
Okay. How so?
MariTide's once-a-month dosing is a major selling point.
Convenience is a huge factor for patients.
It is.
And less frequent dosing could be a real game changer.
Huge.
It could even give them an edge in terms of pricing.
Exactly. And they're also investing in research to develop even better GLP-1s
Okay.
that might be more effective or have fewer side effects.
That's the key to staying ahead in any rapidly evolving market.
Yay.
You have to constantly innovate and push the boundaries of what's possible.
So while Amgen is facing some fierce competition, it looks like they're taking the right steps to position themselves for success in the GLP-1 market.
Good.
They're not backing down from a challenge.
That's good to hear. It sounds like they've got a fighting chance in this dynamic landscape. But let's not forget, the regulatory hurdles they need to overcome these drugs are subject to approval by the FDA, and that process can be unpredictable.
Right. The regulatory landscape is complex and constantly evolving. Any setbacks in the approval process can have a huge impact on a company's stock price. Investors need to be aware of that.
Absolutely. It's not just about getting that initial approval either. As a drug is on the market, there's ongoing monitoring and scrutiny. New safety concerns can emerge, and regulators can change the rules of the game at any time.
That makes investing in pharmaceutical companies inherently risky. You never know when those regulatory headwinds might blow in. But even with FDA approval and a solid product, there's still the issue of pricing and reimbursement.
Ah, yes. The big question, will people be able to afford this miracle drug, and will insurance companies cover it? Even if a drug is safe, effective, and approved, it won't be a commercial success if patients can't access it.
Exactly. And GLP-1s are expensive. A month's supply can cost hundreds or even thousands of dollars. That's a significant financial burden for many patients, especially those without insurance coverage.
And even with insurance coverage for GLP-1s is often limited or non-existent, many plans don't cover them at all, or they require patients to meet strict eligibility criteria, a certain BMI, or a history of failed weight loss attempts.
It's a big barrier for many people, and it raises serious concerns about health equity.
Definitely.
Are we creating a system where only the wealthy can afford these potentially life-changing treatments?
It's a valid concern, and it's something that Amgen and other manufacturers need to address. They'll need to be strategic about their pricing and work with insurers and policymakers to find ways to make these drugs more affordable and accessible.
Okay, so we've got the regulatory landscape and the pricing hurdles to consider, but let's not forget the potential for what's called off-label use of these medications.
Oh, right. GLP-1s are currently approved for type 2 diabetes and obesity, but there's growing interest in their potential for treating other conditions.
Exactly. We're talking about things like addiction, Alzheimer's disease, even potentially aging itself.
Wow.
It's still early days and more research is needed. But the possibilities are fascinating.
If GLP-1s prove effective for these other conditions, it could be a game changer.
It would.
We could see a surge in demand, which would impact pricing and attract new companies into the market.
It adds a whole other layer of complexity to this already dynamic market, and it creates both opportunities and challenges for companies like Amgen.
It's a high-stakes game, that's for sure. Speaking of which, let's shift our focus back to Amgen. Specifically, what can you tell us about their management team and their overall corporate strategy?
That's a crucial area to consider when evaluating any company.
It is.
The quality of leadership and their strategic vision can make or break a business.
Exactly. A company can have the best product in the world, but if the leadership is weak or the strategy is flawed, it's all for nothing.
So let's start with the CEO.
Okay.
Amgen has been led by Robert Bradway since 2012. He's got a ton of experience in the pharmaceutical industry and has been credited with steering Amgen through some major changes.
So he's seen it all and knows how to navigate the ups and downs of this industry. That's reassuring for investors.
Absolutely. Under his leadership, Amgen has expanded their product portfolio, entered new markets, and made some strategic acquisitions.
What?
They've also maintained a strong financial position.
That's a pretty solid track record, but as you know, it's always good to look beyond the CEO.
Yeah.
What about the broader management team? Do they have the experience and expertise to execute Amgen's strategy?
That's something we definitely want to dig into further.
Yeah.
It's important to have a strong team at the helm, not just a single captain steering the ship.
Exactly. And speaking of steering the ship, let's talk about Amgen's overall corporate strategy. What are their long-term goals, and how do they plan to achieve them?
Well, based on what we've seen so far and what the article highlighted, they seem to be focused on a few key areas.
Let's hear them. What's their roadmap to success?
First and foremost, they're committed to innovation, developing new drugs in areas like oncology, cardiovascular disease, and of course, GLP-1s.
Smart move.
Yeah.
Those are all areas with a lot of unmet medical need and significant market potential.
They're investing heavily in research and development to bring those next-generation treatments to market.
That's essential in pharmaceuticals. You're only as good as your pipeline.
They're also focused on expanding their global reach.
Okay.
They're entering new markets and forming partnerships to increase international sales.
That makes sense. The pharmaceutical market is global, and there's huge potential for growth in emerging markets.
Yeah.
It's a way to diversify their revenue streams and reduce their reliance on any single market.
And they're also leveraging their existing strengths in manufacturing and supply chain management.
That's often overlooked,
Yeah.
but it's absolutely crucial.
Yeah.
You need to be able to produce and distribute your drugs reliably and efficiently.
Exactly. It seems like they have a clear and well-defined corporate strategy.
It does.
They're focused on innovation, global expansion, and operational excellence.
And they've got a capable leadership team in place to execute that strategy.
It's a compelling combination.
It is, but of course, no strategy is foolproof, and there are always risks to consider. What are some of the potential challenges that Amgen might face down the line?
Well, we've already talked about competition, which is a major concern.
Right.
They're going head-to-head with some very formidable rivals in the GLP-1 space.
Companies like Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk have a head start, deep pockets, and they're not going down without a fight. Plus, new players are entering the market all the time.
Exactly. So Amgen will need to stay on its toes to maintain its competitive edge. Another risk is regulatory uncertainty. The approval process for new drugs can be unpredictable and lengthy, and there's always the risk of rejection or delays.
Right, and even after a drug is approved, the FDA continues to scrutinize it. New safety concerns can emerge, and regulators can impose restrictions on how it's marketed or prescribed.
Yeah.
It's like a game with constantly shifting rules.
Exactly. Then there's the issue of pricing pressure. Healthcare costs are skyrocketing, and payers are pushing back against those high drug prices.
That's a major challenge for the entire pharmaceutical industry.
Yeah.
It's a balancing act between pricing drugs high enough to be profitable,
Right.
but also making them affordable for patients and acceptable to insurers.
Amgen needs to find that sweet spot, or they'll lose out to competitors with more flexible pricing strategies. Another thing to keep in mind is that patents eventually expire.
Right. That opens the door for generic competition, which can seriously erode a drug's profitability.
Exactly. So Amgen needs a strategy for managing patent expirations and maintaining revenue streams from their older products.
They could develop new formulations or combinations of existing drugs, which can extend patent protection. It's a common tactic in this industry.
And then there's the issue of managing costs. Developing and bringing new drugs to market is a ridiculously expensive process, and those costs are only rising.
Amgen will need to be incredibly disciplined about managing expenses and finding ways to operate more efficiently.
For sure.
But at the same time, they can't afford to cut corners when it comes to research and development.
It's a delicate balancing act, but one that's essential for long-term success in pharmaceuticals.
Absolutely.
So while Amgen has a lot going for it, a strong track record, a solid management team. Yeah.
And that promising pipeline, they're also facing some significant challenges and risks.
And it's important for investors to be aware of those risks, both the general risks of the pharmaceutical industry and those specific to Amgen. No investment is without risk.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We've looked at Amgen's financials, their strategy, the competitive landscape, the regulatory environment, and the challenges they face.
It's been a whirlwind tour, but I think we've built a pretty solid foundation for understanding Amgen and its position in this rapidly evolving market.
Absolutely. But before we wrap up this first part of our deep dive,
Okay.
let's talk about mergers and acquisitions. Have they been active in acquiring other companies to boost their portfolio or expand into new markets?
That's a smart question. Mergers and acquisitions can be a significant driver of growth in this industry, and it can tell you a lot about a company's ambitions.
But they have been active in recent years. They made some strategic acquisitions like Onyx Pharmaceuticals in 2013
Okay.
and Decode Genetics back in 2012.
Those are some big names. What did they gain from those deals? The Onyx acquisition brought them a portfolio of cancer drugs, which boosted their presence in the oncology market, a high-growth area with lots of unmet medical need.
And Decode.
Decode gave them access to a massive database of genetic information, which is incredibly valuable for developing new drugs and personalizing treatments.
That's a huge asset in the age of precision medicine.
It is.
It suggests they're thinking long-term about how to leverage technology and data to drive innovation.
So it's clear that Amgen sees M&A as a key part of their growth strategy.
And it's likely they'll continue to be active in acquiring promising companies.
But as we know, there are risks involved. Integrating acquired companies can be challenging, and there's always the chance that a deal won't deliver the expected returns.
Investors should definitely scrutinize Amgen's M&A track record and assess the strategic rationale behind any future deals. It's one thing to buy a company, it's another thing to make that acquisition work for you.
All right, before we move on to the next part of our deep dive, there's one more piece of the puzzle we should consider. Amgen's commitment to social responsibility and environmental sustainability.
That's becoming an increasingly important factor for investors. More and more people are looking to invest in companies that are doing good for the world, not just generating profits.
Absolutely. And Amgen has a long history of commitment to these initiatives.
Good.
They have a robust corporate giving program that supports various causes, including healthcare access, STEM education, and disaster relief.
That's commendable.
It is.
It shows they're committed to giving back to the communities where they operate. It's not just about making money, it's about making a positive impact.
Exactly. They've also implemented a number of environmental sustainability initiatives, like reducing their carbon footprint, conserving water, and minimizing waste.
That's important.
It is.
The pharmaceutical industry has a significant environmental impact, so it's crucial for companies to take steps to operate more sustainably.
And they've been recognized for their efforts by organizations like the Dow Jones Sustainability Index and the CDP Climate Change Report.
Those are impressive accolades.
Yeah.
It suggests that their commitment is genuine, not just greenwashing.
Right. It seems Amgen is committed to doing the right thing for both people and the planet.
Okay, so we've taken a good look at Amgen from a business perspective.
Yeah.
But now it's time to shift gears and explore another facet of this deep dive.
Right.
There's more to this story than just numbers and balance sheets.
I agree. In the next part, we'll dig deeper into some of the broader trends and developments in the GLP-1 market that could impact Amgen's future.
Sounds good to me. All right, so we've covered Amgen's position in the GLP-1 market, but let's zoom out and look at the broader landscape. What other trends are shaping this market that you think investors should know about?
Well, one of the most exciting trends is the development of what are being called next-generation GLP-1s.
So they're not just resting on their laurels with the current drugs. What makes these next-generation drugs different? What's the cutting edge?
Researchers are working on new formulations that might be even more effective, have fewer side effects, or even offer more convenient dosing regimens. Imagine if you could take a pill once a day instead of a weekly injection.
That would definitely be a game changer. Anything that improves patient compliance is going to be a big win. Are there any other breakthroughs on the horizon?
Definitely. There's a lot of buzz around personalized medicine. Imagine being able to identify through genetic testing which patients are most likely to respond to GLP-1 therapy.
Wow. So instead of a one-size-fits-all approach, doctors could tailor treatment plans to each individual patient's genetic profile. That's precision medicine in action.
Exactly. It could lead to more effective treatment with fewer side effects and could even bring down costs in the long run.
That's a win-win. What about technology? Is that playing a role in this market?
Absolutely. We're seeing the rise of digital health platforms that can help patients track their weight loss progress, manage their medications, and even connect with healthcare providers virtually.
That's a great example of how technology can empower patients and improve adherence to treatment.
There are even apps and wearable devices that monitor activity levels and give you personalized feedback and support. It's like having a virtual coach right in your pocket.
It's like the whole world of fitness tracking is merging with the medical world, and all that data being collected is a goldmine for research, helping us better understand the effectiveness of these drugs.
Exactly. We're just scratching the surface of what's possible, so it's safe to say that technology is going to continue to play a big role in shaping this market.
It's definitely something for investors to keep an eye on, but let's not forget that right now, these medications are primarily used to treat people who are already overweight or obese. What about using GLP-1s preventatively?
That's a fascinating idea. Imagine being able to intervene before someone even develops weight-related health problems.
It could be a game changer, especially given the rising rates of obesity and its related complications. Is there any research to support this preventative approach?
Some studies have shown that GLP-1s can help people maintain a healthy weight even after they stop taking the medication.
That's interesting. It suggests these drugs might have long-term effects beyond just appetite suppression. It's like resetting the body's weight set point.
There's also growing interest in using GLP-1s to prevent the development of type 2 diabetes, which would have a huge impact on public health.
That would be a major breakthrough. But as with any new approach, more research is needed to confirm these potential benefits and determine the safety and efficacy of using GLP-1s preventatively.
Exactly. It's too early to make any definitive claims, but the potential is certainly there.
Okay, so we've got next-generation drugs, personalized medicine technology, and the possibility of preventative use. It's a lot to take in. Where do you see the GLP-1 market headed in the next few years?
It's hard to say for sure, but I think we can expect continued growth and innovation. We'll likely see new drugs hitting the market, new uses being explored, and maybe even new ways of administering these medications.
It's going to be a wild ride, but let's not forget the bigger picture. These drugs are not just about individual health. They also raise some big questions about body image, social norms, and even the definition of health itself.
That's a great point. As these medications become more effective and widely available, they're likely to have a profound impact on how we view obesity as a society.
We might see a shift away from blaming individuals for their weight and toward a more understanding and compassionate approach.
And hopefully we'll see less weight stigma and discrimination.
But there's also the risk that these drugs could reinforce unrealistic beauty standards and create pressure for people to achieve a certain body type.
It's a complex issue with no easy answers, and it's a conversation we need to have as a society.
Okay, let's bring it back to the world of investing. We've covered a lot of ground on the GLP-1 market as a whole, but let's talk specifically about how investors can best evaluate pharmaceutical companies in a space like this.
That's a great question. Investing in pharma can be tricky because it requires an understanding of both the science and the business you need to be able to assess the scientific validity of a company's drug pipeline, but also understand the financial and market dynamics of the industry.
It's a balancing act. What are some of the key factors that investors should be considering when evaluating a company in this space?
First and foremost, they should look at the strength of the company's drug pipeline. A diverse portfolio of promising drug candidates in various stages of development is a good indicator of future growth potential.
So it's not just about what they have on the market now, but what's coming down the pipeline. Yeah. What about their financials? What should investors be looking for there?
Financial stability is key. You want to see a strong track record of profitability, solid cash flow, and manageable debt levels. These are all signs that a company can weather economic storms and invest in future growth.
And of course, a company is only as good as the people running it. What about the management team?
Absolutely. Investors should look for companies with experienced and capable leaders who have a clear vision for the future. They need to be able to navigate the complexities of the pharmaceutical industry and make smart decisions.
It's like any investment, really. You're betting on the jockey as much as the horse.
And let's not forget the regulatory environment. Investors should be aware of the hurdles that pharmaceutical companies face and the potential impact on profitability.
Those regulatory headwinds can really blow a company off course if they're not prepared.
The competitive landscape is another crucial factor. Investors need to assess how strong a company's competition is and how well it can differentiate itself in the market.
It's a crowded space, so standing out from the crowd is essential.
And lastly, but definitely not least, more and more investors are factoring in a company's commitment to social responsibility and environmental sustainability.
It's no longer just about making money. It's about making a positive impact on the world.
Exactly. So it's important to look at a company's track record in those areas.
That's a lot to consider. It sounds like investing in pharmaceutical companies requires a pretty deep dive. But I guess that's why we're here.
Exactly. It's about connecting the dots, understanding the big picture, and making informed decisions.
All right, let's switch gears for a moment. We've talked a lot about the potential benefits of these medications. But let's be realistic. There are always potential downsides.
Right. As with any medication, there are potential risks and side effects. And with a new class of drugs like GLP-1s, we don't yet have the full picture of their long-term effects.
So what are some of the potential long-term consequences that we should be aware of?
Well, one concern is that these drugs could disrupt the body's natural hormonal balance. GLP-1s work by mimicking a naturally produced hormone, and long-term use could potentially interfere with the body's own regulation.
That's a valid concern.
Yeah.
We need more research to fully understand the long-term effects on the endocrine system. What about nutritional deficiencies? I know these drugs suppress appetite. Could that lead to people not getting the nutrients they need?
That's another area that needs more research. It's possible that long-term use could lead to deficiencies in certain nutrients if people aren't careful about their diet.
So it's not just about taking the drug, it's about making sure you're still getting all the essential vitamins and minerals. Are there any other concerns?
Some studies have suggested a possible link between GLP-1 use and an increased risk of pancreatic cancer.
That's a serious concern. But it's important to note that these studies have been observational, which means they can't prove cause and effect.
Exactly. More research is needed to determine if there's a real link, and even if there is, the overall risk of pancreatic cancer is still relatively low.
So while it's something to be aware of, it shouldn't be a deal breaker for people who could really benefit from these medications. Are there any potential psychological impacts to consider?
That's a good question. Some people might become overly reliant on these medications to maintain a healthy weight and neglect other healthy habits like diet and exercise.
It's important to remember that these drugs are tools, not a quick fix. They work best as part of a comprehensive plan.
Exactly. And there's also the potential impact on body image. People might feel pressured to take these medications to conform to societal expectations about weight and size. We need to be careful about sending the message that thinness is the only path to happiness and health.
That's a really important point. These drugs have the potential to do a lot of good, but we need to be mindful of the unintended consequences.
Okay, so we've talked about the potential long-term risks and the importance of not neglecting those healthy lifestyle changes. But let's dive a bit deeper into those lifestyle changes. What should people be doing alongside taking a GLP-1 to really maximize its benefits?
Well, let's start with diet. It sounds obvious, but you can't out-medicate a bad diet.
Right. So what are some key dietary recommendations for people taking GLP-1s?
It's all about balance and nutrient density. Focus on whole, unprocessed foods, fruits, vegetables, whole grains, lean protein, and healthy fats.
And minimize those processed foods, sugary drinks, and unhealthy fats.
Exactly. This type of diet helps to control calorie intake while also providing the nutrients your body needs, and it's good for managing blood sugar levels, which is crucial for people with type 2 diabetes.
So it's about making sustainable changes to your eating habits, not just relying on the medication to do all the work.
Right. Another crucial aspect is portion control. Even with GLP-1s suppressing appetite, it's still easy to overeat.
It's helpful to use measuring cups, food scales, or visual cues to get a handle on portion sizes, especially in the beginning. And pay attention to your body's cues when you're actually hungry and when you're full.
Mindful eating can make a big difference.
Okay, so we've got diet covered. What about exercise? How does that fit into the picture?
Exercise is essential for overall health and well-being, and it plays a huge role in weight management. Whether you're taking medication or not, it helps burn calories, build muscle mass, and boost metabolism.
It's not just about the physical benefits either. Exercise improves mood, reduces stress, and even helps you sleep better.
Right. It's a win-win all around. So what are some recommendations for physical activity for people taking GLP-1s?
The general guidelines are a good place to start. At least 150 minutes of moderate intensity aerobic activity or 75 minutes of vigorous intensity activity per week.
And don't forget strength training. Aim for at least 2 sessions per week, working all the major muscle groups.
The key is to find activities you enjoy and can fit into your life, and listen to your body start slowly and gradually increase the intensity and duration of your workouts over time.
And if you have any underlying health conditions, it's always a good idea to chat with your doctor before starting a new exercise program.
Okay, so we've got diet and exercise covered. What about sleep? I know a lot of people underestimate how important sleep is for their health.
Sleep is absolutely crucial for weight management and overall well-being. When we're sleep deprived, our bodies produce more of the hormone ghrelin, which makes us feel hungry, and less leptin, which signals fullness. It's like your body's working against you.
So lack of sleep can lead to those pesky cravings and make it harder to lose weight even if you're on medication.
And it can mess with your metabolism, making it easier to gain weight. So how much sleep do we need to be aiming for?
Most adults need around 79 hours of quality sleep per night.
It's not just about the quantity, though. Quality matters, too.
Right. It's helpful to establish a regular sleep-wake cycle, even on weekends, and to create a relaxing bedtime routine.
Avoid caffeine and alcohol close to bedtime, and make sure your bedroom is cool, dark, and quiet.
It's about creating a sanctuary for sleep.
And speaking of things that can impact our health and weight, let's not forget about stress.
Stress. It's the silent killer, and it can wreak havoc on our eating habits when we're stressed. Our bodies pump out cortisol, which can increase appetite and those cravings for comfort foods.
And chronic stress can lead to weight gain, especially around the belly. So finding healthy ways to manage stress is crucial.
Absolutely. What are some effective stress management techniques that people can try?
Exercise is a great stress reliever, as are yoga, meditation, and deep breathing exercises. Spending time in nature can also be incredibly calming and restorative.
It's about finding what works for you and making it a regular part of your routine. And don't be afraid to seek professional help if you need it.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground on lifestyle changes, but let's be honest, changing your habits is hard. What about the psychological and emotional aspects of weight management? Are there resources available to help with that side of things?
Absolutely. That's where behavioral therapy comes in. It's a type of therapy that helps you identify and change unhealthy thoughts, feelings, and behaviors.
So it's about addressing the root causes of unhealthy habits, not just trying to willpower your way through it.
Exactly. A therapist can work with you to develop a personalized plan to address your specific needs and challenges.
They might help you identify triggers for overeating, develop coping mechanisms, and set realistic goals. It's about building a toolbox of skills to navigate those tricky situations.
And they can also help you challenge those negative thoughts and beliefs that so many of us have about our bodies.
It's amazing how much our thoughts and beliefs can sabotage our efforts even when we're trying to do the right thing.
That's why having that support from a therapist can be so valuable. They can help you reframe those thoughts and develop a more positive and accepting relationship with yourself.
Behavioral therapy is really about empowering you to make lasting changes, not just temporary fixes.
Okay, so we've talked about lifestyle changes and the power of behavioral therapy, but let's not forget the importance of having a good support system.
That's so crucial. Weight loss is a journey, and it's so much easier when you have people in your corner cheering you on.
Right. Loved ones can offer emotional support, help with meal prep, join you for workouts, and celebrate your successes. And they can provide that much-needed encouragement when you hit a bump in the road, which is inevitable.
It's all about having that network of people who believe in you and who are there to support you every step of the way.
Absolutely. And support groups can be another amazing resource. They provide a safe space to share experiences, swap tips, and get advice from others who are going through the same thing.
It's a reminder that you're not alone in this journey. So whether it's family, friends, a support group, or all of the above, having a solid support system is invaluable.
It's about building that team that's going to help you succeed.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, the importance of lifestyle changes, behavioral therapy, and having a supportive network. But what about the long-term sustainability of GLP-1 therapy? What happens when people stop taking these medications?
That's a crucial question. Weight regain is a common problem after stopping any weight loss medication, and GLP-1s are no exception.
Right. Once the medication is no longer suppressing appetite, many people experience that their hunger comes back and they start gaining weight. It's a tough reality.
So what can be done to minimize that risk of weight regain after stopping GLP-1 therapy?
It all comes back to those healthy lifestyle changes we talked about earlier. Maintaining a balanced diet, engaging in regular physical activity, managing stress, and prioritizing sleep are all crucial for long-term success.
It's about creating a lifestyle that supports a healthy weight, not just relying on medication as a temporary fix.
Absolutely. It's also a good idea to gradually taper off the medication rather than stopping abruptly. This can help to minimize that rebound effect and give your body time to adjust. It's like coming off any medication. You don't want to shock your system.
And of course, it's important to work closely with a healthcare professional throughout this process. They can monitor your weight, tweak your lifestyle recommendations, and address any health conditions that might contribute to weight regain.
It's a team effort. Yeah. Okay, so we've talked a lot about GLP-1s, but are there any other promising treatments for obesity on the horizon? What does the future hold?
There's a lot of exciting research and development happening right now. While GLP-1s are currently the most effective weight loss medications, there are other promising avenues being explored.
Let's hear it. What are some of the new frontiers in obesity treatment?
Well, one area of research is focused on developing medications that target different pathways in the body involved in appetite and energy balance.
So instead of just mimicking GLP-1, they're going after other targets. What are some examples?
There are drugs in development that target the hormone ghrelin, which, as we mentioned earlier, stimulates appetite.
That makes sense. Block or reduce ghrelin, and you could potentially reduce hunger and cravings.
Exactly, and there are also drugs being developed that target the endocannabinoid system, which plays a role in mood, appetite, and pleasure.
Interesting. So they're looking at the connection between mood and eating habits. That's a complex system to target, but it could be very effective if they get it right.
These new medications could offer alternatives to GLP-1s, or maybe even be used in combination with them for a more comprehensive approach.
It's like having more tools in the toolbox to tailor treatments to individual needs.
Combination therapies are another big area of research right now. The idea is to combine two or more medications to boost their effectiveness or target different aspects of obesity.
So instead of a single drug, you're getting a multi-pronged attack on the problem. What are some examples of combination therapies being explored?
For example, you could combine a GLP-1 with a drug that targets ghrelin or a GLP-1 with a drug that targets the endocannabinoid system.
That makes sense. You're hitting the problem from multiple angles, potentially addressing both appetite and mood.
Exactly. And don't forget about bariatric surgery.
Right, that's been a very effective option for people with severe obesity. But it's a major procedure. Is anything new happening in the world of bariatric surgery?
Researchers are developing less invasive surgical techniques like endoscopic bariatric procedures.
So instead of open surgery, these procedures are done through the mouth. No big incisions. That's incredible.
Exactly. It typically means a shorter recovery time and fewer complications, which could make bariatric surgery a more accessible and appealing option for some people.
That's a game changer. What about non-surgical options? Are there any other technological advancements on the horizon?
One of the most promising areas is bioelectronics. It involves using implantable devices to modulate nerve activity.
It sounds futuristic.
Yeah.
So instead of drugs, they're using tiny devices to control the signals in the body that regulate things like appetite.
Exactly. There are devices being developed that can stimulate the vagus nerve, which helps regulate appetite.
So you're basically sending signals to the brain to reduce hunger. Fascinating.
There are also devices that can block the nerve signals from the stomach to the brain, which can help to reduce feelings of hunger.
Wow, it's like a direct line to the control center of appetite.
It's still early days for these technologies, but the potential is really exciting.
It's like something out of a sci-fi movie.
Right.
Okay, so it sounds like there are a lot of potential solutions on the horizon, but we have to acknowledge that obesity is a complex issue, and medical interventions are only one part of the solution.
Right. We've been focusing on the individual level, but what about the role of public policy in addressing the obesity epidemic? What can be done on a societal level to create a healthier environment?
That's a great question. Individual responsibility is important, but it's not enough. We need to create an environment where healthy choices are easier to make.
Exactly. Public policy has a huge role to play in shaping those choices.
Yeah.
Where do you think those efforts should be focused?
Food labeling and advertising are a good place to start. We need clearer and more informative labels that make it easy to understand what we're putting in our bodies.
And we need to restrict advertising of unhealthy foods, especially to kids.
Absolutely. Those ads are everywhere, and they have a powerful influence on our choices. What about school nutrition?
That's another crucial area. Schools need to provide healthy and nutritious meals and snacks and limit the availability of junk food and sugary drinks.
Schools are where kids spend a lot of their time, so they have a huge opportunity to shape those early eating habits and set kids up for a lifetime of good health.
And let's not forget about access to healthy food. Everyone should have access to affordable, nutritious food, regardless of their income or zip code.
Right, we need to address those food deserts where fresh produce and other healthy foods are scarce or way too expensive.
Public policy can incentivize grocery stores to locate in underserved communities and support programs that make fresh produce affordable for low-income families. It's about leveling the playing field when it comes to access to good food.
Okay, so we've got food labeling, advertising, school nutrition, and access to healthy food. What else can be done on a policy level to promote a healthier environment?
We need to create more opportunities for people to be physically active. That means investing in safe, accessible parks, walking trails, bike paths, and community recreation programs.
We need to make it easy and enjoyable to move our bodies. It shouldn't feel like a chore.
Exactly. And we can encourage physical activity in schools and workplaces. It's about integrating movement into everyday life.
And let's not underestimate the power of public education and awareness campaigns. We need to challenge those societal norms that promote unhealthy habits and really emphasize the benefits of a healthy lifestyle.
It's about changing the culture around health and well-being.
Right. It's a multifaceted problem that requires a multifaceted approach.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, from Amgen and its prospects to the broader trends in the GLP-1 market and the social and policy implications. It's a complex and evolving landscape.
It's certainly been a journey, but I think we've given you a lot to think about as you continue to explore this space.
Before we move on to the final part, where we'll wrap up our deep dive and give you some key takeaways, what are your overall thoughts on the future of the GLP-1 market and the obesity epidemic?
Well, I think it's clear that we're at a turning point in how we address obesity. New medications like GLP-1s are offering real hope for people who've struggled for years to lose weight.
They have the potential to be game changers, not just in terms of weight loss, but also for improving overall health and reducing the risk of serious complications.
But we need to be cautious. These medications are powerful tools, and we need to use them responsibly.
It's not about quick fixes or magic bullets. It's about a comprehensive approach that includes lifestyle changes, behavioral support, and access to quality healthcare.
And we need to be mindful of the potential risks and side effects of these medications and the broader ethical implications of their use.
We also need to continue investing in research and development to find even more effective and safer treatments.
And we can't forget about the social determinants of health. Addressing issues like poverty, food insecurity, and lack of access to healthcare is crucial for creating a truly healthier society.
It's about creating a world where everyone has the opportunity to thrive.
Okay, in the final part of our deep dive, we'll bring all of these threads together and leave you with some key takeaways to consider as you navigate this complex and fascinating landscape.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive into the world of GLP-1 drugs and the potential investment opportunity with Amgen.
From the science behind these medications to the market dynamics and the broader social implications, it's been quite a journey.
So before we wrap things up, let's distill all this information into some key takeaways for you. What are your main takeaways from this deep dive?
Well, first and foremost, the GLP-1 market is booming, and it's showing no signs of slowing down.
Yeah, the demand for effective weight loss treatments is huge, and these drugs are delivering results.
Which means there's potential for significant financial gain for companies that can capture a piece of this market.
Amgen, with its monthly injection, GLP-1 drug MariTide, is definitely a company to watch.
Their stock is currently undervalued, according to the Motley Fool article we discussed.
Right. But as with any investment, there are risks to consider.
Competition is fierce. The regulatory landscape is always shifting, and pricing pressures are mounting.
Amgen will need to be strategic and adaptable to navigate these challenges.
But they have a lot going for them. A solid track record, a diverse product portfolio, a strong financial position, and a commitment to innovation.
So if you're looking for exposure to the GLP-1 market, Amgen might be worth a closer look.
But remember, always do your own research, and don't base your investment decisions solely on what you hear on this deep dive.
Now, beyond Amgen, the GLP-1 market itself is evolving rapidly.
We're seeing next-generation drugs and development personalized medicine approaches gaining traction, and technology playing an increasingly important role in treatment and monitoring.
And the potential for preventative use of GLP-1s is a fascinating area to keep an eye on.
But the implications of these drugs extend far beyond the realm of medicine and finance.
They're raising profound questions about body image health equity and the role of technology in our lives.
It's crucial to engage in these conversations and to consider the ethical and societal implications of these advancements.
Because ultimately, it's about more than just profits and losses.
It's about creating a world where everyone has the opportunity to live a healthier and more fulfilling life.
And that's a goal worth striving for.
Absolutely.
Ah.
So as you continue to explore this fascinating landscape, remember to stay informed, stay curious, and stay engaged.
We hope this deep dive has given you a valuable starting point for your own exploration of the GLP-1 market and the future of obesity treatment.
And remember, knowledge is power. The more informed you are, the better equipped you'll be to navigate this complex world and to make decisions that support your health and well-being.
Until next time, keep asking questions, keep seeking answers, and keep diving deep.